Hey, what's happening, all you amphibians out there? I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I'm coming at you again with another episode review of Amphibia. This time it's Season two's Episode 12, titled Scavenger Hunt. And well, it's a double feature, so let's get into it. So, with the first half of this episode, we have the Plantars as well as Anne and Marcy sitting down for a bug burger, with Marcy actually being very good at math and accurately knowing how much money the bug burgers will actually cost, with everyone kind of commenting on the fact that, well, Marcy is basically a lot more smart and number savvy than Anne, but as I thought from the beginning, Anne had a tendency to copy off of Marcy during class. But then Marcy ends up receiving a message from the king, and it's actually a coded message, a puzzle for her to solve. So it's from the onset we actually get to see the whimsical nature of the king with this weird little puzzle he has going. But as everyone heads off, Hoppediah ends up getting caught up in a free gift giveaway should he eat a certain amount of burgers or get a certain amount of burgers. So while that's going on, Anne laments how smart Marcy is and how it kind of makes her feel a little self conscious about her own intelligence. So Sprig says that, well, if you can figure out the whole puzzle before Marcy, maybe that'll help boost your confidence in your own intelligence. So as they arrive at the first clue at Coral Park, Anne tries to figure out the clue by thinking that it has something to do with listening to the choral, only for Marcy to realize that, the clue is about the telescope at the center of the park, which points in the direction of a message spelt out amongst the trees that says the first part of the message, bring. So while everyone else heads off, Anne ends up running into a young girl who is trying to get her, uh, what was it? Pillar out of a tree, which, Anne has one of those, so of course she helps this little girl, Effie, with her cat problem. Just helping out of the kindness of her heart, because that's just who Anne is. The next clue leads them to, what was it, a museum or a library? I don't remember. But that's not important. What's important is the little wind thing on top of it. I can't remember what it's called. A weather vane. Right, weather vane. I think it's a weather vane. But yeah, they arrive there, and while Marcy's kind of stumped at first, Anne takes the note and tries to have an old person help her figure it out. Since, old people, they're good with puzzles and all this. Now, this older lady is named Doris, and things don't go exactly as Anne plans, as Marcy ends up figuring out with a bunching of bricks looking very much similar to the layout of Newtopia's streets. So she's able to find a specific brick. So the message ends up being bring me. Meanwhile, Sprig tells Anne about the situation while she was having just kind of a girls' day with Doris, just listening to her stories about her kids and all that. And I love the fact that Anne, was just willing to just listen to this old lady talk about her life. Just what a sweet little moment. But they race to the last clue with them passing by Hoppediah, who's been gorging himself on food in order to get this free set of armor, and they come upon a bridge that Marcy had helped fortify, with her design work helping to increase the load that the bridge can actually bear. So Anne really starts to feel very defeated at this moment and heads over to Ignacio's place, where she meets up with the stand seller, Gertie, who had her plates kind of blow away and just up and got him just to be nice, and she has a bit of a heart to heart with Gertie, talking about how she feels like she's not smart enough. With Gertie kind of knowing where she's coming from, as she's not the smartest person in Newtopia, but she sells some pretty good nachos. So Anne gets her second win thanks to Gertie and goes in to try to figure things out, thinking that the clue might be in the sewers, with her seeing a valve that she thinks might be what the picture represents, only to free an alligator who sounds very much like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, mostly because it's voiced by Jim Cummings. If you don't know, Jim Cummings voices Winnie the Pooh as well as Tigger. I believe he voices both of them, as well as him voicing Dr. Robotnik in the old Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, and most notably Darkwing Duck back in the 90s, and with the current DuckTales TV series, he voices Negaduck. So very cool to just have such a great voice actor just come in here for a fun little cameo. But unfortunately, the alligator he's voicing eats everything, which is great because he eats trash, but not so great because he'll eat them. Not saying they're trash, but you know how it goes. So they try to escape with a little help from Gertie, along with Doris and Effie, who arrive, and once they hear that Anne is in danger, they try to help out, with Hopadiah and Polly getting in on the action as well. And with everyone working together, they're able to save Anne, Marcy, and Sprig, with Hopadiah questioning how Anne managed to get herself in trouble yet again. But Sprig lets the cat out of the bag that she was just trying to prove herself in terms of her intelligence, with Marcy kind of noting that, questioning why Anne would do something like that, and Anne owning up that she kind of got a little jealous of how smart Marcy is and just wanted to be seen as the smart one for once. But Marcy admits that while she might be smart, she's not as good at just getting to know people the way Anne is. She doesn't make friends as easily, and she's a fairly shy person around people she doesn't know. So it just goes to show that, there's a reason these two came together underneath Sasha. Marcy only having a select number of people she really gets along with, and Anne being a general nice person. Of course, they kind of clung under Sasha. Marcy is a little too submissive to break away from something like that, and Anne's a little too polite to break away from Sasha. So it really just comes together and explains how Sasha could kind of get her talents in them. Not saying Sasha wasn't a good friend, but, well, you know. And they managed to make up with Sprig actually managing to get some free nachos from Gertie. But suddenly, when she takes a chip, Anne realizes that the clue was actually in reference to the nachos. And once Sprig eats all the nachos, they get the rest of the message, namely bring King Andreas the Plantars. So they realize they've got an audience with King Andreas, and they head off after feeding the alligator some nachos because he seems pretty happy about the whole situation. It's just like such a cute little ending, and thus we go into the next episode, namely episode 13, Plantars check in. And ooh boy, does this episode has a lot going on as we arrive in the palace and everyone meets up with Olivia, who's all hoity toity as per usual. Um so, we continue to see that side of her personality. But when everyone meets up with King Andreas, he seems intimidating at first, only to find out he's kind of a lovable goofball, very much like Asgore Dreamer from Undertale. And voiced again, like I said last episode, well, last review, by the legendary Keith David. Oh, the voice of Goliath. If you've watched Rick and Morty, you've heard his voice there. And if you've seen Princess and the Frog, he's the voice of the good doctor, Dr. Facilier. So, man, Keith David has a legendary voice casting in terms of animation. And to see him as this big, lovable guy with this booming voice is just a good time overall. With Olivia even trying to keep him in line in terms of his royal outward appearance. But, Andreas, and not to mention, this guy's name is Andreas Leviathan. How cool is that name? Dude, I would straight up change my name to Andreas Leviathan in a goddamn heartbeat. You bet your ass I would. So this guy is so fun. It's fortunate he's menacing as all get out in certain circumstances, especially at the end of Marcy at the Gates, but hopefully he turns out not to be a bad guy in the end. With him even picking up on a little bit of Earth slang and, hand gestures, fist bumping with Anne after giving her a thumbs up. It's a all in all good time. But he also notes that, he might not be able to really help him out without the calamity box in hand. So he can help figure out, since Marcy already figured out that it was the thing that brought them there. But Anne, while she didn't bring it, she actually has a picture of it on her phone. So Andreas gets a closer look and notices that the gems on it aren't colored the way that Marcy described, something that Anne never really noticed beforehand. So Andreas says that he'll head off to the library and research the whole situation with Marcy, while the Plantars and Anne spend their night out on the town and have a good time, especially when he gives them the Royal Credit Card. We are talking bling bling, baby, unlimited funds. Never leave that kind of money in the hands of a peasant. They will spend that business because it's money they didn't have to work for. So, gonna buy something nice. I know that's right. That's what's up. Now, Spring is all too ready to just have a fun adventure. But everyone else, considering that this has been all over the course of a day, the previous episode and then Marcy at the Gates, that was all over the course of a day. They're only just now settling into sleep. So they've been through a lot. So everyone else, they're like, nah, I'm down for the night, dude. But Sprig wants to go out and party. But Hopadiah forbids it, that he will not go out with the credit card and do all his shenanigans. He will not leave the hotel. So once Hopadiah is asleep, Sprig says, well, I won't leave the hotel, but I will spend that money. So he ends up heading out the door only to run into the Bella the Bellhop, voiced by, of all people, Kristen Shaw, who, if you don't know, voiced Mabel in Gravity Falls. Like, we, not even that long ago, we had freaking Alex Hirsch voicing Grunkle Stan and Seuss again, and I'm just like, when are we gonna get Dipper's voice actor in here? But again, Kristen Shaw has been in so many different animations, from Bob's Burgers to BoJack Horseman, like Bella the Bellhop, lots of bees, but she's just such a fun character, ranging from mischievous to shy and kind, like all over the place. But Bella the Bellhop looks for a tip, and Sprig thinks that she's offering a tip to him, and he asks where the best place in the hotel is, with Bella saying that it is the Ferris wheel, that the view from the top can change your life. So Sprig heads out, sees the Ferris wheel, and decides that he'll save that for last, as he goes around getting all kinds of food, getting his hair cut. Watch out, he is going Super Saiyan Blue! And even getting hopped up on caffeine, which is very reminiscent to an episode of Futurama, where Fry drank what was it, like 100 cups of coffee and just achieved like a full-on Quicksilver moment. Like if Sprig could hold time in a bottle. Ooh, that would be dangerous. But, in his excitement, he ends up dropping the card off of the balcony. And while he goes on a dash to get it, it ends up in the hands of Bella, who had a bit of a moment that made me feel very self conscious about my life. And while Sprig thinks that she'll happily hand it over, she tries to book it, seeing that she might have a better future with unlimited funds. Unfortunately, in their kerfluffle, it ends up flying onto one of the cars of the Ferris wheel, and Sprig and Bella continue to dash after it, fighting over it on the very tippy top of the Ferris wheel. But the view catches their attention, and they are in awe of this sight. And with that, Bella has a bit of a change of heart, just kind of having this moment to realize what she's doing is wrong, apologizing to Sprig, and just noting that she only just wanted to change her future a little bit for the better. But she ends up slipping off the top of the Ferris wheel, and Sprig takes a gulp out of the one last cup of coffee that he had that he was planning on giving to Hapadaya in order to achieve Super Saiyan Sprig mode as he sprints down in a mad dash and manages to gather enough cushions and pillows to save Bella. However, she does end up getting in trouble with her boss, even having him go so far as to fire her. But Sprig, as the holder of unlimited funds and a personal relationship with the king, speaks on Bella's behalf, even going as far as to suggest that she should not only keep her job, but get a raise, which the manager does. And, Bella is just overjoyed and thankful to Sprig and feels that, maybe her future's not as bleak as it seemed. And honestly, I really hope Bella comes back. She was a kind of a fun character and just I don't know, something about her. Maybe it's just because I want more of Kristen Shaw in this series because she's such a great voice actor. You can't just have one appearance, come on. But I would love it if she had more returning moments in this series. A very fun character overall. But unfortunately for Sprig, once he finally manages to arrive home, it's wake up time for the Plantars and Anne, who are all too ready to adventure in this hotel and the world of Newtopia, much to Sprig's dismay. What a fun series of episodes! It was so great. Like, man, there were just so many fun characters and fun moments, and just it was a great time, a fun time, but such great characters, which really makes me hope that King Andreas Leviathan isn't a terrible person. But I could easily see it being very similar to Asgore Dreamer in Undertale, where he did good things, but no, he did bad things, but for a good reason, which you kind of end up weighing how good uh, were the end results worth the means? If people ended up having their lives destroyed, was it really worth it in the end? Oh man, I can feel it in my bones that that's where we're heading, and it makes me very wary for the future. But what do you think? Is King Andreas hiding something dark and deceptive, or are we being misled by current events? I'll just have to wait and see, and I hope you will join me for the next episode review of Amphibia. So if you like this video, leave me a like. Don't give me a dislike if you feel it. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. That way you don't miss out on any more of my episode reviews. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.